be millisecond accurate. We have to be that specific. We thought we had been in the planning.
But if the air pressure behind it isn't decreased, it's just the differential between this and that.
The last round of tests, right before we shoot, we got there, and we weren't even close.
And now they fall on me.
Will the pieces fall into place, or is OK Go finally out of time?
They'll exude so much slime that you can't hold on to them.
You see a boat smacking another boat and they both explode? Well, you're engulfed in that fireball. That's horrific.
The band OK Go wants to show that every moment, every second is packed with thousands of micro moments.
And now they fall on me. I would like to have this camera there.
It was so complex, we needed a scientist.
To reveal this hidden world, they're using high-tech cameras to make 4.2 seconds last for 3.5 minutes.
That first one's going to be variable.
His name was Fluffy, which is obviously very exciting.
I have a platform that I developed that allows me that flexibility. It has, analog to digital input.
He also was like, the last time I had to do something this accurate, I was working on nuclear bombs.
The level and depth we go in to show these micro moments that the human eye can't see, I think is really beautiful and feels profound.
325 micro moments rolled into 4.2 seconds. That's what the boys in OK Go are determined to do. OK, go. Now it's time to unpack those seconds into the one moment.
There's nothing more profound than the certainty that all of this will end.
You can't go back in the past, or at least not yet, and you can't travel into the future, or at least not yet. But what you do have is right now, and the best thing until we figure out time travel is to make sure that the moments you're living in count.
In a lot of OK Go videos, the invisible world we're looking for is bigger than humanity, bigger than our normal experience of humanity. It's like, this is what everyday life is like. But in this video, what's nice is the invisible world is the one that's smaller than we are.
If you're as mesmerized as I am by the slow motion obliteration of fruit, just wait until you see what comes up next. A world of warfare few people ever lay eyes on, or would ever want to. Stand by for World War Spew.
Believe it or not, sharp teeth and claws aren't the only way animals defend themselves.
Some can squirt, some can exude.
An arsenal of weaponized body fluids.
They can also shoot fragments of their intestine.
One scientist has seen it all. And now he's ranking the top animal defense mechanisms. How gross can it get? What are the contents of each projectile fluid? Today I've got a doctor with me who knows all about creatures who spill their guts.
I really love looking at bizarre, interesting behaviors.
This guy has spent his career slogging through the muck, searching out the hidden world of animal secretions.
Consider the challenge of simply surviving and reproducing. You need defenses. One way to do that? Bleed noxious chemicals. Shoot out projectile vomit. Another way? To spew from specialized glands toxic, acidic, gooey chemicals.
How does Dr. Klein rank this animal weaponry? A potent formula of factors that include the surprising, the disgusting, and the toxic. Time to battle. Coming in last on our list at number 7, a body-melting saliva.
Giant water bugs have this beak, this proboscis, this piercing, injecting mouthpart. And what they do is they can inject a saliva and it can extract liquid form food from its prey. And they're a delicacy in some parts of the world. So rich in proteins and a culinary delight to some.
The stench coming up at number 6 lasts for weeks, unless you chemically neutralize the sulfur. Number 6 on our list, a terrible odor.
Skunks, classic examples. That black and white is a high contrast warning because Shabanga can eject this putrid smelling defense from its anal glands. Those unforgettable anal scent glands.
Synchronized spewing is part of what earns these ants a number 5 ranking. Spew type number 5, acid spray.
Ants. These are Formica ants. They make these massive nests. They don't have stingers. Instead, they spew this formic acid at great distances. Ah, that's marvelous. Beautiful.
In a potentially deadly but respectable 4th place finish, voluminous body slime.
The hagfish. Hagfish are bottom dwellers, and they're fish that can exude through their pores this ooze that when it makes contact with water forms this frothy, quickly expanding goo that can suffocate or entrap a potential predator. They'll exude so much slime that you can't hold on to them. So much slime that volumetrically it's far more than its own body volume. Seems impossible.
Checking in at number 3, puking up your guts.
Ribbon worms. There are many species that can avert the front part of their digestive system. Let's see what we have here. Whoa, there we go. This gooey, sticky, sometimes toxic, branching. And in some species, poison can be injected.
And the runner-up on our list of horrors? Boiling hot toxins.
Bombardier beetles have this remarkable defense where they can swivel the tip of their abdomen in the direction of a potential predator and pa-pound! An explosion. A micro explosion. You can see this little cloud, this little puff. The chemical that can be, upon pulsing from their bodies, nearly boiling. So this is, in Fahrenheit, 212 degrees. So when they direct it to an ant and pop, 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 it can potentially kill those predators.
Barrett's journey has led him through smelly anal glands and boiling hot toxic butt spray. But one contender remains, and you'll never believe what this Lone Star badass does to defend itself.
The first time you press a button, you're shaky, you're nervous.
A lot could go wrong.
We've followed Dr. Barrett Klein's journey into the invisible world of animals that spew, spray, ooze, and exude. But one little known phenomenon tops them all.
This lizard stands out among spewers for its stunning precision and surprising execution.
Phrynosoma, Texas horned lizard, spiky, has really tough scales to protect itself. But Texas horned lizards have another remarkable defense.
They spew a fluid we might be familiar with, but in a totally new and toxic form. That's because these lizards eat venomous ants. Incredibly, the venom doesn't affect them at all. It's just stored in their blood like a gun in a holster. And when it's time for a quick draw, you can't believe what you're seeing. Projectile toxic blood shot from the eyes. Man, during Evil Dead, why didn't we think of that?
They can produce blood from the eye socket. They can shoot blood a fair distance. That can also be somewhat acidic or toxic. A spewing defense should inspire respect, fear, repulsion, admiration, and actual celebration. The diversity of life on planet Earth is marvelous.
The natural world has some disturbing weapons. We're about to meet a family of effects masters with a few weapons of their own. But if they do their job right, you'll never see them.
The Kutcher boys have worked on some of Hollywood's biggest projects, from San Andreas to Tombstone, from NCIS to Jackass. Now, as they prepare for their next big film, they're testing out something bigger, better, and more hardcore than anything before. An explosion so dangerous, it could trim the Kutcher family from a trio to a solo act. Can they pull it off?
This vehicle's hot. It's ready to explode and flip.
Or will a single miscalculation end in disaster? For this family, it's just another day at the office.
Here we come!
Believe it. Or not. Under the tutelage of their father, veteran effects guru Matt Kutcher, Zach and Matt Jr. have driven nose first into the hotbed of Hollywood stunts and special effects.
If I had to describe my father to somebody who had never met him, determined, driven, and crazy in a way that just builds success. His madness, his beauty, in everything he does.
The boys should know. They've had a front row seat for their dad's work since they were young.
They lived in that environment with me, and they traveled to all the places I've been to, for the most part, with me on movie sets.
I didn't really go to a normal public school system. I woke up every day and went to work with my dad, and he had tutors that would come out and educate us on set.
I think we've grown a lot as a family, and I think at the point in our careers we're beginning to work with each other rather than for each other, right?
In 3, 2, 1, go!
So if you see somebody go through the broken window, you see a car flip over and explode, you see a boat, driving along and smacking into another boat and they both explode, well, that's us.
Full-time badass.
Movie stunts got their start at the beginning of the 20th century. with comedians like Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin. But it wasn't until the 1960s and 70s, with the implementation of air compression technology, explosives, and bullet squibs, that modern-day stunts began to take shape. By the 1980s, everything was bigger, faster, and even more dangerous, with 21 stuntmen dying on the job. Now in the 21st century, it's a whole new frontier, thanks to CGI. Lots of planning goes in, but in the end, the hand of the stunt coordinator should be totally invisible. Today, Matt and his boys are allowing us under the hood as they test out their latest stunt.
The gag is in the script is that the car comes sliding in at high speed and a hand grenade gets thrown and the car gets blown up and blows over in a spectacular way.
But can they pull off this killer trick without exploding themselves in the process?
I think the worst thing in this stunt could be complete catastrophic failure, and it would prematurely detonate for some reason. Well, you're engulfed in that fireball. That's horrific.
All right, effects is hot.
Wild car stunts are the holy grail of action films, and they have to look real. That's why there's an effects crew like the Kutcher Boys pulling all the strings and pushing all the buttons.
This is the first time they've ever attempted this stunt. Everyone here knows the risks.
At any one given time on these sets, a lot could go wrong. What we're about to do is dangerous. We're going to be smart about it, and then we're going to make sure we don't screw it up.
Matt Sr. is driving, and Zach's in the passenger seat. But Matt Jr. has the most vital role, pushing the button on the flipper, a machine packed with highly compressed air that can launch a car 20 feet into the sky at the push of a button. The timing is critical. A few seconds off, and the flipper could launch the car on top of his father and brother, killing them instantly.
The first time you press a button, you're shaky, you're nervous.
If it wasn't my brother, I wouldn't trust it.
You just don't want to mess it up.
The entire team is in place, but it will take pinpoint precision to get it right.
All right, effects is hot.
Here we come!
The car's going a tremendous distance, nice big fireball, but the flipper, it's off the ground 4 or 5 feet. But the computer's going to go back and remove that flipper, so you don't see it. Unless you saw it in slow motion, that you wouldn't have known that happens. Your naked eye would never pick that up. I don't know that I wanted to get my children involved in this business, but since they are now, and they're excelling at it at such a high rate of speed and at such a high level for their age, it's extraordinary. I love watching it every day.
Who's got to clean that up?
The Kutcher Boys have a knack for tearing things apart. This next groovy guy uses good vibrations to put things together.
Gravity glue is the glue that holds the cosmos together. It's also the glue that holds this together.
My name is Michael Grab. I balance rocks.
Well, I balance rocks on the surface. I would say
A better answer is I shape energy. I transform energy.
The first question people always ask, is it glued?
My whole aesthetic with gravity glue is like, it has to look like an alien did it. Something not of this world.
Their next question is, how in the world did he do it? Believe it or not, Michael creates these structures with nothing more than a collection of rocks, his two hands, and an uncanny connection to the invisible forces around us.
I don't really have time or space in my brain to think about all these different aspects. It's more like this almost universal process is acting through me.
Now Michael is raising the stakes again, pushing those invisible forces to a whole new place.
I'm trying to achieve something that I don't know if it's going to work or not. Turning impossible into possible. I moved to Boulder in 2002 to start going to college at CU. I went through kind of a psychedelic phase in my life where I was experimenting with that realm of experience a lot. I was hanging with a friend at the creek and we were both just kind of losing our minds a little bit. And kind of naturally fell into this activity of stacking rocks.
When I first saw Michael's work, it kind of felt unreal to me. I just couldn't quite wrap my head around how that was happening.
It's just the first moment I realized, hey, this is really cool. It's a great way to empty the mind.
Every rock is unique, sculpted by time and the elements. And without flat, consistent surfaces, balancing them is incredibly tricky. But Michael sees and feels what most of us can't.
My fingers kind of become like antennae, and I'm feeling literal vibrations that are coming through the rocks. It's basically like seismic waves, but on a miniature scale.
When two continental plates slam into each other, massive vibrations ricochet around the globe. Scientists measure these seismic waves on the Richter scale, assigning them a number based on their intensity. Michael's superhuman senses allow him to feel vibrations too small to register on any scale. He uses these minute seismic waves to find the center of gravity for each stone.
So every time a rock contacts another rock, you can feel the vibration travel through the rock. So I kind of triangulate the balance that way just by feeling these subtle vibrations.
Michael started posting his work online, and within months, an audience started to grow.
The internet caught wind of what I was doing, and it just spread all around the world.
Michael is commissioned to create sculptures around the globe. Today, Michael will construct another tower of impossibility. Will gravity hold his work together, or will it drag him down?
We do live in a cave, but we're not necessarily Neanderthals.
"34-year-old Michael Grab has made a career out of balancing rocks by using the forces of gravity. Now Michael has a new challenge. Let's see if he can keep it together."
I have to lift this huge weight that's basically maxing out one of my arms, and at the same time keep this precarious structure stable with my other arm. And if I fail, then I have to start all over again.
that's when it becomes really magical to see that silhouette with that little tiny point. Michael has turned playing with rocks into a very successful career and art form and inspirational medium.
Michael's trip has taken him all around the world and beyond. But what better setting for a trip beyond belief than the land of Oz?
The Australian outback. Summer temperatures here can reach 118 degrees. In that kind of heat, the average person can sweat more than 2 quarts of liquid per hour. And once you're out of fluid, your organs start shutting down.
If you're standing on the roof, you can definitely fry an egg.
How can people thrive in one of the most inhospitable places on the planet? The answer lies hidden underground. Believe it or not. The name Coober Pedy is Aboriginal for white man in a hole. Indeed, the landscape is riddled with pockmarks from over 100 years of mining.
If you're not wary, you could fall down 60 feet straight down. There's been quite a few people sort of falling down shafts.
It's what you're not seeing that tells the real story of this place. Opal. 70% of the world's supply comes from right here. But that's not the only thing luring people to this dusty town. It's the subterranean life.
We do live in a cave, but we're not necessarily Neanderthals. We don't roll the rock shut at night anymore. We do have doors.
Thomas Hammermeister is one of 1,700 Cooberpedians living under the desert and inside the ground. With all the amenities of a suburban neighborhood, the town today is a far cry from its hellish beginnings over a century ago. In 1915, 14-year-old Willie Hutchison was prospecting for gold with his family near Coober Pedy. Dehydrated by the scorching temperatures and running out of water, Willie's dad sent him to find a well. Willie not only came back with a full canteen, but with a bag of gemstones. Coober Pedy quickly became an important mining town. And for the next century, fortune seekers from around the globe set up camp in hopes of scoring big.
In our family, Dad was an opal miner. When I was about 6 years old, he said, "Boy, this is the Garden of Eden." And we looked outside and there was a dust storm blowing, and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm not getting it.
Underneath the searing outback of Australia, the inhabitants of Coober Pedy have forged a mining community with a twist.
I know why my mum nearly died of fright when she saw the place, because it was desperate. There was no trees and nothing grows. There was no running water. You had a 44-gallon drum per family per week, which was not a lot of water. So you caught as much rainwater as you could when it rained, and sometimes it didn't rain for quite a few years.
Water shortage is no longer an issue. And these days, it's not just the homes that reside under the Earth's crust. The crown jewel of Coober Pedy is the Serbian Orthodox Church. Measuring almost 100 feet long, 17 feet wide, with 23-foot tall ceilings. Living underground may seem like a hardship to some, but the residents of Coober Pedy wouldn't trade it for anything.
We get people that come through on a holiday and 30 years later they're still here because they love it.
The unseen world is still a mystery. Sometimes scary, sometimes surprising, but like the miners from Cooper Pedy, dig deep enough, and you're sure to find treasure.